Okay, well, we got a no spark condition here, and okay. Try and get that sandpaper in there. You can. There it is. On the one. Get that file down a little bit, cleaned up. See if we can tell. Points look to be in good shape, actually. That looks better. Let's see if we can do the same thing over here. All right, we need a better way to hold this light. All right, wow, lot of white stuff on there. Okay. Wiring looks decent. Little cobwebs in there, maybe. Nothing much. It all looks pretty good. I can see one of the condensers over here. I'm not sure. This indicates it can turn. Let's see if they open at all. Yeah, that one opens. What's this in here? See if this one does. Should be 180 out, right? Yep, that one opens. Let's get a test light and see if they're making contact. We'll clip on the ground here. Hope we got a good one. All right, now the ground lead would be there. It's currently open, I think. Yep. We're going to test for there. And that should go closed, I think. Nope. It's not. Let's test down here. See what we got here. It's open. To ground. This should be shorting to ground at some point. Those points are together. Oh, that's not ground. What the hell? Oh, the ground slipped off. Dummy. Let's try that. All right, that's ground. And that should be ground, and that's ground. That's ground. And that should open, and it does. Right there, right when it's supposed to. Yeah. Bingo. Right here's a little timing mark. All right, let's get on the other one over here and see if it does exactly when it's supposed to. I should have a better way of turning this on, I think. And bingo. Comes on just when it should. Right there. Might be a little bit advanced, but it should work. Okay, so we're going to go over now and try the spark test again. Okay, so we know we're not getting spark on this one, and that's the first one. There are two, one for each cylinder. So I'm going to have to pull this coil out and test it probably. I'll check first and see if I can get through the insulation here and test to see if I'm getting 12 volts to it, or 6 volts to it. And if I am, then it's probably a coil problem. So I'll be back. All right, so we don't have spark, but we do have power to this point right here. And we do have power to the same point on the other side, which is here. Oh, you know what? Let's see. Okay, so what we want to do is that power never seems to go away. So I want to find out why we're not grounding that out. This is a battery ignition, not a magneto ignition. So I got a battery hooked up. We're going to ground out these 2 points and see what happens. All right, this should be, the one I'm going to do now, should be this plug up here. This is this point right here, if you can see it. I hope you can. And we're going to watch the spark plug. Sure enough, we have spark. Okay, we're going to go down here to this one here, and we're going to see if we got spark on the other one. So up here, we do not. So that means probably that we have a bad coil or a wire power going to that coil. But when we look at the power we have here, we can see that we do have power to that one and we do have power to that one. But this one's not working, so most likely the coil is bad. So we got to take the tank off here, and we're going to have to take this hoses off underneath here. And then we'll see what we can see. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about the ignition system in the YDS3. So let's start with a battery. Why a battery? Because the YDS3 is battery ignition. 2 terminals, one's positive, one's negative. Negative comes over, ties right to ground. Positive, where does that go? Well, first thing it does is it goes through a fuse. Then it goes up to a switch where it ties into C, I believe, C or B. We'll say, no, we'll say B. And then C, where does that go? When you turn the switch on, it makes that connection between B and C. And that wire comes over here and it goes to the ignition coil. Okay, what does the ignition coil do? First of all, there's a core in the ignition coil, and there are two windings on it, a primary and a secondary. We'll draw a line to separate them. All right, the primary winding down here has fewer turns on the coil than the secondary does. And that's what gives you the ability to step up from a small voltage to a higher voltage. So, we got 3 terminals on this coil, one of which is the high tension line that goes to the spark plug. And I don't know if I can draw a spark plug or not, but we'll just leave it at that. So, we need to make this guy spark. We need a high voltage on it. So, we come over here. There's a plus terminal and a minus terminal on the coil. This will be the plus. That's not a very good plus. And this one will be the minus. Okay, so we bring that 6 volts in this case. This is a 6-volt battery. In here, it comes all the way down here, and then part of it branches up to the secondary coil, and part of it goes to the primary coil. The primary coil wraps around there a few times and goes out through the negative terminal. The secondary coil I shouldn't take the time to, I should have had this drawn up ahead, shouldn't I? Oh well. The secondary coil connects up here to your high tension lead. Okay, so what happens? How do we make this thing spark then? Alright, we bring this lead down. It actually goes through a little terminal strip, I think. I'm not sure what leads go through there, but there's at least this one goes through. And it comes down here and it goes to the ignition points. Alright, and those ignition points are connected to ground. The edge of the spark plug is connected to ground. Alright, and at this point also, there's something we call a condenser, and that's basically to keep it from oscillating. So this is a capacitor, basically, which is also tied to ground. Now, these points are normally closed. So when they're closed, there's current flowing from the plus lead through the primary of the coil and to ground. Now, when the cam comes around, this rides on a cam, and when the cam comes around, and I'm not very good at drawing cams, but we'll make it like that, it pushes these points open. And when it pushes these points open, oh, one thing I forgot to tell you over here. This, when this winding, or the points are closed and this winding has current in it going to ground, it creates a magnetic field out from the core of this, basically a transformer. And when it does that, that field is out there expanded. So when all of a sudden this cam comes around and opens up this point here, there's no longer any current through this one here. That field, that magnetic field, collapses. And when that magnetic field collapses, it collapses on both the primary and secondary. And the secondary, having many more windings than the primary, it causes a huge voltage to be induced into it, which comes out and fires your spark plug. So that's the way the battery ignition works in the YDS3. Alrighty. Let's see if we can get some spark on this thing. I bought a new coil for it. So we're gonna stick that on and see if we can get spark on number one over here. Let's see, we're gonna need, this is a battery ignition, so I need to get some power to it. Let me see what happens when we turn the key on. Alright. So we got our trusty little light here. Let's see if we got power down here. We do. Alright, so let me turn this key back off again and get this, I'm going to need a socket in here. Plus going to brown, and orange going to the points, I think. Let me try this one and verify. We do not have a connection. Yes, we do. So we're seeing the points up here. Working the way it should. We open those points up. Okay, what do I need? All right, let's put some in it. This one goes there. This one. Goes there. And that goes there. And give her a crank. See what happens. She had something to hold on to. Popped. May not have enough, I'm not getting enough air. Well, it popped. So I think I'm going to need to pull the carbs and see what I can do with them. I'm worried about the heads. The spark plug holes are pretty reamed out. Okay, well, I think I'm going to leave it right there. Looking at the heads, the spark plug hole in one of them was just totally devoid of threads. So that one would either have to be helicoiled, or I'll just look for a good used one on eBay, and once that gets in, then we'll get back with trying to get this thing to run.